Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good morning, everyone. It is August 1st, 2018. I'm Eric. I'm here at beforeitsnews.com. Evidence is mounting that Fukushima is a progressive extinction level event. I know I talk about Fukushima pretty frequently, but I can't overstate the importance of what happened in Fukushima and what is currently happening. It cannot be overstated. You see this little diagram here. By the time it reaches the shores of California, the west coast, Mexico, and so on, it's at 750 rads. But that 750 concentrates. It keeps going and going and going, and it doesn't ever end. So, not until the material burns itself out, which takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to do. So TEPCO plans to dump all available radiation in the Pacific Ocean on an ongoing basis. This could be an extinction level event, since a huge 2011 earthquake off the coast of Japan, resulting in a mega or massive tsunami crashing into a nuclear plant in Fukushima. The world has been fed a consistent dose of extreme under-exaggeration with regard to the resulting consequences. In actuality, the world does not need a nuclear war in order to experience the consequences we have Fukushima. Unfortunately, after the catastrophe occurred at Fukushima, the Obama administration was busy trying to conceal the gravity of the situation along with the fallout from this event, both figuratively and literally. For example, the federal government immediately raised the level of toxic radiation exposure by a factor of 1,000. Then, the Obama administration minions stopped measuring radiation levels on the West Coast, thus commenced one of the biggest cover-ups of all time. Subheading: Personal Adjustments. And, you know, we shouldn't have to make personal adjustments because some fucking scumbag corporation decided to build a nuclear power plant right on a fault line, right in a tsunami-prone area. But here we are. I like fish. I like salmon. I like to eat tuna, but you can't really do that anymore because it's mostly contaminated with Fukushima radiation. Despite the complicity of a worldwide cover-up by the planet's nations, some people have made personal adjustments in the face of this underreported crisis. For example, I rarely eat fish any longer. If I was a wine drinker, which I'm not, I would immediately stop drinking. Why? Because these consumables are the first line of defense with regard to the planet's food supply, and Fukushima is the single biggest long-term threat to our existence, barring a nuclear war or a large asteroid strike. I also like to throw in a super volcano eruption along with that. Maybe even, you know, a giant earthquake. If Fukushima is such a threat, then the readers must be wondering why this issue is not being discussed prominently in the media. Actually, there is a smattering of coverage of the dangers of the aftermath of the, he likes the of those, doesn't he, of the Fukushima disaster. In general, however, we have witnessed one of the biggest cover-ups in journalistic history. The real facts connected to this event constitute a, and he also loves this line, clear and present danger. Pretty good movie, though, wasn't it? According to the World Health Organization, the aftermath of Fukushima event shows absolutely no impact on the world's food supply. Let's not forget about the water supply. The mainstream media is in concert with this position. The one question that nobody could seem to answer is, why did the Obama administration stop checking radiation levels on the West Coast? Was this president who doubled the national debt in just 8 years merely conserving the government resources? No. It took 2 decades, or actually it took more than that. It took decades for the scientific community and the MSN to pay attention to the cancer-causing Roundup from Monsanto. For 4 years, many of the independent media were identifying the numerous dangers of Monsanto's genetically modified seeds, from unstoppable genetic contamination to the newly admitted link between the company's top-selling herbicide and cancer. All in all, the list goes on and on, but GMOs aside, what may be an even greater threat to not only our individual futures, but the future of humanity itself, comes from the aftermath of the Fukushima event. The world is waking up to danger of GMOs and Monsanto's dangerous products, as evidenced by the fact that Vermont passed a mandatory GMO labeling law. These labeling laws usually get struck down, by the way. Unlike GMO, it is difficult for the public to wrap their minds around the issue that Fukushima poses, because it takes some level of intellectual persistence to understand the ongoing and increasing level of the threat. The threat posed by GMOs is directly and easily understood. However, when the public is asked to understand the nature of cesium-134 and 137, the issue is clouded, and the public can continue to be deceived by entities that do not want the contamination of their products exposed. However, there have been warnings to the severe danger posed by Fukushima. There are, however, quieter voices from science that don't engage in the cover-up at Fukushima. Marco Kautofen, some shit like that, of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Worcester, Massachusetts, presented research findings at a scientific conference on the immediate fallout of the Fukushima disaster. The following findings were published 6 months after the event. Okay, this comes from this Marco fellow. The Fukushima nuclear accident dispersed airborne dust that are contaminated with radioactive particles. When inhaled or ingested, these particles can have negative effects on human health that are different from those caused by exposure to external or uniform radiation fields. Let's not forget the health of plants and animals right along with us. A field sampling effort was undertaken to characterize the form and concentration of radionuclides in the air and in environmental media which can accumulate fallout. Like I said, he uses the word accumulate. I use the word concentrate. Same difference. It can continually accumulate, therefore concentrating, into the water tables or the dirt, the soil we grow our food in. I'm trying to find where I left off here. Yeah. Can accumulate fallout. Samples include settled dust, surface wipes, used filtered masks, used filter or air filters, dusty footwear, and surface soils. Particles were collected from used motor vehicle air filters and standard 0.45 micron membrane air filters. Soils and settled dust were collected from outdoor surfaces, interior surfaces, and from used children's shoes. The Japanese filters contain cesium-134 and 137, as well as cobalt-60 at levels as high as 3 NCI total activity per sample. Materials collected during April 2011 from Japan also contain iodine-131. This short-lived nuclide was not observed in later samples. U.S. air filter and dust samples did not contain hot particles except from air samples collected from Seattle during the months of April 2011. I'm going to go ahead and skip down here. The samples of Japanese children's shoes were found to have relatively high radiocesium contamination levels. Isolated U.S. Soil samples contained up to 8 nanocuries per kilogram of radiocesium, while control samples showed no detectable radiocesium. Dust-containing radioactive cesium were found at levels orders of magnitude above background more than 100 miles from the accident site and were detectable on the U.S. West Coast. So, this is a rather lengthy article. Well, I guess I've already went through most of it. But I can't overstate the destruction Fukushima is causing to our animal habitat and eventually our own habitat. And as, what's that guy's name? Guy McPherson. As he says, once the habitats are destroyed and there's nowhere left for us to go, our food can't be grown. That's it. That's it. Of course, we could do some indoor vertical farming, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to work for 360 million people, let alone the world's, what, probably closer to 8 billion now. So, anyway, thought I'd share this with you. Hope you all have a good day. Kill the state before it kills you.